Shalom, shalom. We the real Hebrew Israelites come in week and week out to prophesy the downfall of Babylon the Great. Before I start this lesson, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shah, by Hashem, Racha HaKodash. That honor just doing to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone that rule well, that taught me this truth. Peace and blessings to the hopeful elect. All right. I want to get off in, to this lesson that came to my spirit, right? Because I was really, meditating upon the scriptures. I like the scriptures tell you to do, meditate upon thy precepts. So I was just meditating, right? I mean, I was just thinking about how this place has to go, all right? Which all brothers, if you in the spirit, that's the spirit we in, all right? You just, you think about how much, Babylon the Great has just become, completely, hey, it's always been wicked, but, wickedness is increasing, all right? And, the more, as the scriptures say, the more, roughly paraphrasing that, the more knowledge, the more sorrow, all right? The more you understand, the worse it is being in Babylon the Great. So all around this place has to be destroyed. It's a wicked place. It's vexing, all right? All these things are, vexation of the spirit, all right? And that's what I was just thinking about in my mind. So then it hit me. It's just how much more Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shah, all right? Because we get vexed daily, man. Just being in the spirit. Just seeing our women running around be whores, all right? Knowing that hey, you may have a woman that that's been with other men before you even had her, man. All right, but that's what comes being in Babylon the Great. This place, it's not ruled off righteousness. It's ruled by wicked leaders. All right. The actual wicked Esau Edom, which is the so-called white man, right? So I'm gonna get this in Hosea 4:1 because I was thinking, man, this place gotta be destroyed. All right. This devil got us paying for water, man. Sometimes it's the simple things you think about, paying for water, light bills, all right. And Esau Edom, man, this nigger, all right, you'll think, all right, you even being in the world, Salakia for the rent, but you'll think, that with all these riches, all right, and all this, enjoyment, you're able to enjoy the fatness of the earth. All right, that you'll just take your wealth and enjoy it, but no, instead he chooses to be a devil. He chooses to poison all the food, poison all the air. We got to get out this place. This place got to go, right? This is Hosea chapter 4, verse 1. It says, "Hear the word of the Lord, ye children of Israel, for the Lord have a controversy with the inhabitants of the land, because there is no truth, no mercy, nor knowledge of Yahweh in the land." Right? See, the Lord has a controversy with Babylon the Great. All right, and your leaders, all right, and really speaking to you Israelites, all right, you Negroes, Latinos, and Native American, your false leaders, all right, have showed you, no pity. They didn't show you the truth. All right, so you don't have the true understanding of the Bible. You don't have the true knowledge. All right, unless you follow after the leaders, the true leaders. All right, the men of the Lord that Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai has set up to be your teachers, as the scriptures say, "Thine eyes shall see thy teachers." All right, and begin with our elders and the apostles to her on down. All right, through the Spirit we've been set up to be your teachers and your leaders, to be examples. All right, to continue on. All right, being righteous to the best of our ability. Even though we know our righteousness is as filthy rags. All right, but hey, the Lord has chose the foolish things of the earth to confound the wicked, roughly paraphrasing, man. So yeah, we've been there. All right, we've done things in the world, but after the Spirit, now we were able to put on that new man. All right, I say that for Lord willing, another lesson. But the point being is that the Lord has a controversy. All right. So if the men of the Lord are vexed about being in Babylon the Great, we got to see moles. We got to see our women be whores, which is all the curses. The Lord said that, our woman was going to be harlot, in the streets. All right, these are part of the curses. This is what, we had to feel, right? We had to feel the wrath of the Lord, all right, for a correction. All right, we have to be agitated. All right, the Lord had to agitate us, the scriptures say, let me get this quick precept. Bear with me for a second. We'll come back to Hosea. Let's see. All right. And we get it, it's all the curses that we had to feel, man. It doesn't feel good at all, okay? But that's for a reason, because the point is, hey, we ain't supposed to feel good, right? We've sinned, right? This is Micah 7:9. I will bear the indignation of the Lord because I have sinned against him, until he plead my cause and execute judgment for me. He will bring me forth to the light, and I shall behold his righteousness. See? So really, we just have to bear the indignation, the Lord's righteous anger. Because the Lord had a reason, to put us in this position. The Lord had a reason to put us in captivity, for us to be subject to payments. All right, now we got to go to Esau, Edom for the want of all things. We have to go to the bases of man for food, money, water, shelter. So we understand it, but hey, we've sinned against the Lord, so we're paying for that. And real soon, hey, the Lord is going to get us out this captivity, but we have to be patient. All right, and just let Yahweh shall work. Everything is going to happen in due season. So though we get agitated, hey, just know, hey, yeah, we upset, we agitated. As the scriptures say, that oppression make a wise man mad. But guess what? Hey, the Lord had a controversy, all right, with Esau, Edom, with the inhabitants of the land, with the way the world is being ran. All right, see, the Lord didn't set the wicked up to rule the earth forever. He didn't do it. All right, the Lord gave Esau, Edom, all right, the so-called white man, a time, all right, a time to rule. All right, and truly, hey, it was in Revelation when Yahweh said, all right, that the Lord has the key to the bottomless pit, right? And really, Esau, Edom has been let loose, as the scripture says. He's been let loose for 1,000. Hey, Lord, well, I'm gonna get that also. Bear with me. But this season is up. Bear with me. All right, this is Revelation chapter 20. Let's start at 1. Revelation chapter 20, verse 1. And I saw an angel come down from heaven, having the key of the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand. All right, which is Yahweh is that angel. And he laid hold on the dragon. All right, that old serpent. All right, which is referencing. All right, the beginning. All right. When you read is Genesis the 5th chapter. I believe it's Genesis the 5th chapter. Don't quote me on it. But you had that serpent in the garden. That serpent was a man. All right, and that subtile, with a subtile, cunning spirit. All right, who pretty much bamboozled Eve. All right, Eve, and then Adam ate of the philosophy. All right, of that understanding in that time. Right, so truly, this is history. All right, so in Esau, Edom, right, he has that spirit of that old serpent. He's cunning. He's slick. He's slimy. All right. He's been set up, to take away peace and just cause confusion because he's doing the work of Satan. It says, which is the devil. All right. When you read Revelation 12:12, it tells you that the devil should come down. All right. Because he knows he had but a short time. Devil means deceiver. All right. It says, and Satan. All right. And this devil was going to come doing the work of Satan. All right. Spiritual demon, Satan. That's who he's the children of. He fulfills everything Shaitan wants. And when you go into, that word Satan, it means adversary. All right. So Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, he is the devil. He's the deceiver. He has the spirit of that old serpent. All right. He's doing the work of Satan. Okay. And it says, and bound him 1,000 years and cast him into the bottomless pit and shut him up and set a seal upon him. And he shall deceive the nations no more till 1,000 years should be fulfilled. And after that, he should be loose for a little season. All right. Now, that 1,000 years, all right, is going into, the dark ages. Okay. When we, came in, to Europe. All right. Which, Europe is that bottomless pit because, it doesn't have any, resources. Okay. All right. But, Esau, Edom, the Lord had him in the mountains. All right. What's that? I believe that's Malachi 1:4 or 4:1, that the Lord, has laid, his heritage upon the wilderness. Okay. So there was a point of time when Esau, Edom, he was in those caves, man. All right. The Lord, locked them down. All right. We were in rulership. All right. The dark ages. Okay. Well, as the scriptures say that he must be loose for a little season, and this is that season. All right, and he got a little season, and he know it, right? Let's see. Yeah, that was the point on there, right? So going back to Hosea 4:1, hear the word of the Lord, ye children of Israel. See, speaking to you Israelites, you Negroes, you Latinos, you Native Americans, all right, all of you that consist, all right, of the tribes, all right, the 12 tribes. All right, really speaking unto the elect. All right, but as the scriptures say, whether they hear or forbear, man, or forbear. So this word is going out to who it need to reach. Okay, and then the day will come when even the unbelievers are going to understand that a prophet has been sent among them. Right? It says, for the Lord have a controversy with the inhabitants of the land, because there is no truth, no mercy, nor knowledge of Yahweh on the land. See, there's no truth. All right, nobody is truly standing up for Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai, bringing forth this truth. All right, but the prophets, right, bringing out this truth. All right, what the scriptures say about Esau, Edom, okay, and all his his lies, right, his lies, his hypocrisy, all the wine that he's put out here. All right, we're bringing it, we're bringing that shit down through the spirit and power of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai. All right. It's too much. It's so much truth coming out. Esau, Edom, man, he wants to, he wants to shut this down. He wants to shut the internet down, right? Because truly, the scripture says that he should make his own tongue to fall upon himself, right? So everything that he thought was going to benefit him is truly backfiring on him. All right, and the main thing is this unicorn, which is just this internet. All right. That, Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai had designed to reach the four corners of the earth. All right, this is how we reach the elect. Okay, we prophesy, and like the elders say, that the internet does the heavy lifting. So we don't want to have to do all the, the gimmicks. We don't have to do that. All we have to do is preach the word. The Lord got the rest. The Lord set it up. Right? There's no mercy. All right, first and foremost, there's no mercy on the Lord's people. All right. Even the Lord's elect, there's no mercy. So, Esau, Edom, man, this devil, he ain't going to receive them where he ain't showed the world no mercy. The scriptures say, who has not, felt his wrath, man. Everybody has felt this wrath. He ain't showed mercy to nobody. So, what you think Esau, Edom going to get mercy? Like the Lord going to say, man, the Lord, man, hey, the Lord has a beef with this place. All right? And if you think the Lord just got a beef with Babylon the Great and not who's ruling, then you in for one. Right? That's why the scriptures say that the keepers of the house shall tremble. What they going to tremble for? Out of fear. All right? Out of fear of the coming of the Lord. They know this. All right, and that's why they prepping. That's why they're trying to get ready to stand up against the Prince of Princes, but they're gonna be broken without hand. All right, but hey, the point is that this place gotta go. Okay, and we ain't gonna get the kingdom unless it be destroyed. See, 2/3 they can't imagine themselves being in rulership and actually being over their oppressors. Esau, Edom, didn't beat them down too much. All right, they didn't beat them down. All right, not just physically, but spiritually, mentally has attacked them. Right, as the scriptures say, in whom the gods of this world blinded the minds of them which believe not. They don't believe. All right, they've been drunk off the wine of Babylon the Great, but guess what? The Lord has an elect. All right, and there's nothing Esau Edom can do about that. All right, you can't make the elect. You know what? Let's get this. Here it is. This is the book of Matthew, chapter 24, verse 24. For there shall be, Shalakia, for there shall arise false Mashiachs and false prophets. And we see that. All right. People saying that they're the anointed and they come in the name of the Lord, and truly the doctrine is off. It's not lining up. All right. Or, these certain men, all right, they're just going off within the spirit. All right, and they're telling the people that they're the way, all right, as if the Lord is just dealing with them. And here it is, the doctrine ain't even right, the spirits ain't even right. All right, but they claim that they're coming to the Lord, and we seen that. All right, it says and false prophets and shall show great signs and wonders, in so much that if it were possible, they should deceive the very elect. See. So Esau Edom, he can't deceive the elect. All right, see, the Lord has an elect, remnant of men, women, and children that's not going to bend their knee to Baal. All right, they're not going to fall for what Esau Edom is going to come with. And truly, it's going to be the Lord, keeping the elect, away from that, time, away from that hour. All right. Hey, going back to Revelation 3 and 10. Let's get that closed out. Let's see. Make this long. Just want to hit to the point. Revelation. It says, Revelation chapter 3, verse 10, because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I will also keep thee away from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world to try them that dwell upon the earth. All right, the hour of temptation is the time of the MOTB. All right, when Esau Edom think he's going to fill his belly and put that grain of rice out there to implant everybody and track everybody. All right, but when he does this, the Lord is going to keep his elect away from it, away from that hour. Okay, so hey, this is going to be a time we're going to have to tap into an extreme, level of faith. All right, and that's why every day that the Lord, he's giving us, time, right, to, build our faith, show us what we need, for us to pray to him, ask for endurance, the endurance that we need, all right, to keep going, all right, because things are going to get tough over here in Babylon the Great, man. But, it has to get tough, and that brings me back to the point that, man, it has to get tough for us to receive the kingdom, right? I got to get this, so, as things are worsening, and it ain't just, it really, worsening for 2/3, man. We out this place, man. The Lord, we through the Spirit, we receive the knowledge for a reason. All right. Lord willing, man. This is Acts 14 and 22, confirming the souls of the disciples and exhorting them to continue in the faith. And that was the point. Exhorting, all right, continuing in the faith. That's what's more important. That you continue. and that we must through much tribulation enter into the kingdom of Yahweh. All right, so it's going to take tribulation to enter into the kingdom. And truly, there's no other way but going, through the straits. All right. And, we deserve every bit of it. All right. However rocky it gets, we just, pray to Yahweh Shah that we be able to, take wherever it is, he going to give us. All right. Because the Lord said he ain't going to give you something you can't handle. All right. And Lord willing, let's get that. Let's get that also. Man, the Lord is beautiful, man. This is 1 Corinthians chapter 10. It don't get no better than this truth. This is the best thing I can ever receive, I have ever received, ever. All right, with this truth, man. Everything else is BS, man. 1 Corinthians 10 and 13, there have no temptation taking hold of you, but such is common to man. But Yahweh is faithful. See, that's our power. Our power is faithful. He's faithful to us. Unlike these other deities sending these niggas off. But hey, that's the power of the Lord. The Lord got them deceived. He will not suffer you to be tempted beyond that what you are able to bear, but with temptation will also make a way to escape, that ye may be able to bear it. See? All right, so the Lord ain't going to tempt you with nothing that you can't bear. Right? You just got to continue to fight, and you fight in a spirit. It's a spiritual fight. Right? It says, but, with temptation will also make a way to escape. All right, so hey, the Lord, he set that battle up for you and give you the spirit you need to get through. All right, and that's beautiful. All right, so, it's a saying, if you're going through it, you can get through it. If you're going through it, you can get through it. All right, and that's the mentality that you have to have within this truth, man. We're going through the straits, but, man, we're going through the straits because the Lord put us here to get through the straits. Okay? To get through. The scriptures talk about, the adversity, the fire, going through the fire. Man, I got to get that too, man. I got to get that too, The Spirit is on me. The Lord is purifying brothers, man. This is the book of Sirach, chapter 2. Let's see if I can find one. The book of Sirach, chapter 2, verse 1. My son, if thou come to serve the Lord, prepare thy soul for temptation. Set thy heart aright and constantly endure, and make no haste in the time of trouble. Cleave unto him and depart not away, without minds be increased in thy last end. Whatsoever is brought upon thee, take cheerfully. All right, and that was part of my point. All right, whatever the Lord gives you, we have to take it cheerfully. All right, because truly the Lord is showing mercy. Hey, man, you could be in a, you gotta always, remember, your situation can be a lot worse. It can always be worse. You got your lows in this truth. You're gonna have lows. You got days when you feeling mighty. Then you got days when you ain't feeling so mighty. You feel kind of weak. But those are demons. See? Those are demons, man. All right? And you have to do what you have to do to purge them out. All right? You may have to listen to a certain music. All right? You might have to just listen to lessons. Work out. Pray. Fast. Read. These are all the things that the Lord gave us to do to fight against those demons, right? It says, verse 4 again, whatsoever is brought upon thee, take cheerfully, and be patient with our change to a lower state. Right? You have to be patient. You have to have patience, beginning with myself. Gotta be patient. Verse 5, for gold is tried in the fire, an acceptable man in the furnace of adversity. So we all being tried. Okay, but the hour is gonna come where the Lord is going, He gonna test us to a certain limit, to a certain point, and see, how far are we willing to go to serve the Lord. All right, even if when it comes down to our life, our freedom, our families, all that, the Lord wants us to be about Him. Okay. So man, this place is finished. Esau, Edom knows it. All right, and whether 2/3 know it or not, all right, they're gonna fall with Esau, Edom. Okay, so Lord, this lesson was edifying. Until next time, I'm gonna say shalom.